Lucy. How did you get to the site of the attack so quickly?
Well, at Reporters Without Borders, we were having a meeting with our director and my deputy, and one of my colleagues came in and he was waving at us saying something's happening. So we told him to come in with us. I was looking at him saying, like, this better be important because we are discussing important matters. And obviously it was. He said, we have learned something terrible. It looks like they have been fired, shots fired at Charlie Hebdo's offices in Paris, and there might be dead people. So the first thing we did was to grab bags, notebooks, and to run to the scene. When we arrived, there were very, very few people. We arrived before the official delegation, the Ministry of Interior, the city, the Mayor of Paris, and we were able to, me and our General Director, Christophe Deloire, we were able to get into the restricted areas with the officials. They knew who we are, and they thought it was important that Reporters Without Borders was there. So we were in front of the office. There were still bullets on the ground. It was just very chaotic. And at some point, we were just wondering who's dead, what happened, and a man left the office, and he just went into President Hollande's arms. He burst into tears, and he was saying, "Charb est mort. Charb is dead." He's the editor of Charlie Hebdo.
And talk about the response that we've seen in France since over 3.7 million people marching on Sunday, a record for France.
Absolutely. This attack, this deadly attack, was an unprecedented attack on journalists and media in France, but the response from the French society has been amazing. We've never seen that many people taking to the streets to call for freedom of the press, freedom of expression, and against all of those who are trying to silence journalists. And in the different gathering, we talked about Sunday, but it started on Wednesday. Reporters Without Borders and others called for a demonstration. It's the very evening of that black day, and people went to the streets, like hundreds of thousands of people, and they were, of all origin, all ages, with people who would read Charlie Hebdo and others who would not read or not like what they would publish, but at least they deemed that they had the right to do it, and that they should not be losing their lives for it.
Among the many signs, a French Muslim woman holding a sign, "Je suis juif," I am Jewish.
Absolutely. It started with Charlie, and then we had this terrible shooting and hostage-taking situation in this cashier shop in Paris. And the crowd was singing on Sunday, "I am a journalist, I am Charlie, I am a Jew, I am a policeman." And again, that was, people from all origins.
Who is the Muslim police officer who was shot dead.
Absolutely. The crowd was, and from the very early gatherings, the crowd was cheering for journalists, but also for police who fell to protect our right to freedom of information.
So you flew into New York, and you're flying right out back to Paris. Why are you here?
Right. Well, I flew in because last night we had a very important thing to do in New York. There was a gathering organized by one of our board members for an American journalist. His name is Austin Tice. He's been missing in Syria for over 2 years, and last evening was an opportunity to call for American news organizations and people to try to help us raise awareness about this case. There's a campaign to be launched soon by the advertising agency JWT with a blindfold. The idea is to ask for news outlets to run on their website a blindfold to show that when journalists like Austin Tice are missing, taken hostage or targeted, this is our right to information that is targeted. This is all of us that are being blindfolded.
What is the U.S. government doing about Austin Tice?
Well, that's a good question. We'd like to know more about what they are doing. For now, we are really frustrated that there are no such information coming out, and this is a way. The more media coverage there will be, the more pressure on the American authorities.
We all have been very moved to see so much support from the U.S. administration and from the American citizens. All these gatherings in New York, in Washington, have really been relayed in France and are very important. And I think all French people know that American people are with us, in a sense, to defend our freedom. Yes, press freedom is not perfect in the U.S. Press freedom is not perfect in France. But today, on Sunday, millions of people walked in the street in France, all around the world, to show that maybe terrorists can kill journalists, but they will never kill our freedom.
I'm wondering if this moment in France will lead to any kind of self-reflection in terms of the criticisms that have been leveled against Charlie Hebdo for its depiction of Muslims. They, in large part, they're the underclass. They feel stigmatized already, and that, critics say, contributes to the insensitivity of Charlie Hebdo and how Muslims were depicted. No one questions the right to free expression, but does an attack like this, does that lead to maybe some rethinking of how Muslims are caricatured in publications like Charlie Hebdo?
I think you should just look at all the Muslims who were gathering in the street on Sunday and who were saying, maybe I disagree with what you were saying, but I'm here to say that you had the right to say it. And I really believe that that's the freedom that we are defending, and that's the fight we are here continuing.
But what about the fact that you do have laws against anti-Semitism, and Charlie Hebdo has been accused of censoring people or firing someone who wrote something that was considered anti-Semitic?
So, you know, Charlie Hebdo was is a very provocative satirical weekly. They were mocking all religions, and they are mocking all religions, all politics, and they will continue to do so. And that's, I think, the important message.
Yeah, I mean, we are all often asked if they went too far, if they pushed the envelope on freedom of expression, but no, they just exercise this freedom of expression. Even in France, you point out to the laws we have, it is forbidden to call for hatred, to call for violence, to stigmatize people, but you can criticize religion. There's a difference between criticizing religion and going after people criticizing Muslims, Jews, and so on. The last time Charlie Hebdo was sued, they won this case. So it means that, you know, even under French law, it was fine, and even under international standards, what they were doing was really freedom of expression. They were not abusing it, as we've heard. And it's important, again, that French journalists continue to tackle these issues. The last thing we should do is to resort to self-censorship. Otherwise, I think all of the people who died for that would just not recognize what the French media might become.